Winter has always posed a challenge for humans, long before central heating, thermal insulation, or even modern bedding existed. One of the most overlooked tools for staying warm during cold nights was the bed canopy. These fabric enclosures were more than decoration. They were practical solutions rooted in centuries of domestic ingenuity. Understanding how our ancestors used them reveals not only historical practices, but also timeless strategies for improving winter sleep today. Bed canopies were essential for controlling temperature around the bed. In medieval and early modern Europe, rooms were poorly insulated, often with large stone walls that sucked the heat out of any living space. Bed canopies, sometimes paired with thick curtains around the bed frame, created a microclimate that trapped body heat. The space inside a canopy could be several degrees warmer than the rest of the room, making it easier to sleep comfortably despite freezing conditions. This principle works on the same concept as modern sleeping bags or tent designs: create an enclosed space where heat from the body circulates and remains, instead of dissipating into a cold room. They acted as barriers against drafts and dust. Beyond warmth, bed canopies served as a protective shield against drafts. Cold air currents could move unpredictably through gaps in windows, doors, or between wooden floorboards. Draped tightly around the bed, canopies prevented these drafts from reaching the sleeper, reducing the risk of chills that could interrupt sleep or worsen winter illnesses. Additionally, they helped minimize exposure to dust and debris that collected in poorly maintained homes, creating a cleaner and more controlled sleeping environment. They allowed families to use fewer resources efficiently. Before the widespread availability of coal, wood, or other heating fuels, conserving heat was a necessity. Bed canopies allowed households to heat only the area that mattered, the bed itself, rather than trying to warm an entire cold room. Wealthier households could even hang canopies from ceilings or install curtains with heavy velvet or brocade to maximize insulation. For those with limited resources, simply using wool blankets or multiple layers of fabric could achieve a similar effect. Today, this principle is still relevant for energy-conscious living. Creating small, warm zones rather than heating an entire space can drastically reduce energy consumption. The fabrics used were carefully chosen for insulation. Historical bed canopies weren't made of thin cotton or lace alone. Heavier fabrics like wool, velvet, or tightly woven linen were preferred. These materials reduced airflow and retained heat more effectively than lighter alternatives. Some households added extra layers or quilts to the canopy itself, effectively turning the bed into a portable warm room. Modern enthusiasts can replicate this by using thick curtains or thermal liners around a bed frame. Even a simple frame with heavy drapes can improve sleep warmth significantly, especially in older homes with poor insulation. They helped regulate humidity and condensation in cold rooms. In addition to temperature control, canopies subtly influenced humidity around the sleeper. Cold, damp air can make skin and bedding feel colder than the actual room temperature. By trapping warmer, slightly drier air around the bed, canopies created a microclimate less prone to condensation. This prevented damp bedding and reduced discomfort from sleeping in cold, moist conditions. For historical households, this meant a more hygienic and comfortable sleep, particularly in winter months when heating stoves were scarce. They contributed to privacy and personal space, which enhanced sleep quality. While warmth was the primary benefit, bed canopies also offered a psychological advantage. In large, drafty rooms where multiple people might sleep, the canopy created a sense of personal space. This separation improved sleep quality as the sleeper felt insulated from both cold drafts and disturbances from other household members. For modern historians or survival enthusiasts trying to recreate historical living conditions, installing a canopy can illustrate this social aspect, showing how design solved practical problems beyond mere warmth. So, applying all that historical knowledge to modern winter living, well, it actually makes a lot of sense. Today, bed canopies are still relevant for anyone wanting to stay warm without just relying on, modern heating systems. For example, in a drafty bedroom, hanging up some heavy curtains or setting up a canopy around your bed can really boost comfort overnight. and it means you don't have to crank up the central heat so much. Sleeping under a canopy also works together with your thermal bedding, making even lighter blankets feel warmer and helping you save energy. Folks who are into survival or living off the grid can do this too, just by building simple DIY frames or even putting up a tent right inside the room. It's taking a centuries-old idea and using it in a modern way. And honestly, you don't have to worry about being historically accurate. The key thing is understanding the principle. When you enclose your sleeping space, you trap heat, cut down on drafts, and usually end up sleeping better. They also work as a pretty neat learning tool for historical living. If you're a history enthusiast, studying bed canopies can really open your eyes to how folks lived day to day, what their social norms were, and just how clever they got with the resources they had before all our modern conveniences. Taking a close look at the materials, the way they were built and where they were placed shows how people in the past put comfort and health front and center, even when resources were tight. Trying out these old-school practices can really deepen your appreciation for their ingenuity and might even give you some practical ideas for today. For instance, reenactors or folks running educational programs can show how a well-draped bed canopy could actually take the place of a modern heater in a historically accurate bedroom setup. Integrating this knowledge for practical experimentation, you don't need a castle to benefit from these insights. Start by observing how heat behaves in your bedroom. Install a canopy, even a simple frame with curtains around your bed. Use heavier fabrics to trap air, add quilts or extra blankets inside, and notice the temperature difference after an hour of sleep. You can experiment with different materials, distances from walls, and coverage styles. Tracking these results can, transform a curious experiment into a practical, energy-saving winter strategy, directly applying historical methods to modern life. They reveal a mindset of efficiency and adaptability. Ultimately, bed canopies were part of a broader philosophy of resourcefulness. Ancestors optimized their immediate environment rather than relying on external solutions like central heating or electricity. By studying this approach, we gain more than a sleeping tip. We learn a mindset. Small, deliberate adjustments can make a significant difference in comfort and survival. For survivalists, historians, or anyone interested in practical historical skills, bed canopies are a case study in applying simple physics, material science, and human ingenuity to everyday life. Reclaim the wisdom hidden in centuries-old practices. Bed canopies were far more than ornamental relics of the past. They were tools for warmth, protection, efficiency, and sleep quality, reflecting practical ingenuity that still holds value today. By understanding and experimenting with their use, modern viewers can reclaim centuries-old wisdom to improve comfort, reduce energy use, and gain insight into historical domestic life. For history enthusiasts, they offer a direct connection to the daily survival strategies of our ancestors, blending practical learning with historical appreciation. If you found this guide valuable, subscribe to Wisdom for the Journey and share it with fellow history enthusiasts. There's more to uncover about everyday ingenuity from the past, and together we can explore how ancient practices still have lessons to teach us today.